Hello, my name is Khadija Michelle Kastriba, and I am the president of the Student Government Association here at HAC. Along with Harrisburg Hope, I am happy to welcome you here to the first mayoral debate. I would like to now introduce you to Dr. Ski, the president of HAC, who has had a wonderful influence on this community. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. All right, quick show of hands. How many of you have attended HAC over the years? Would you please raise your hand? Good, about half of the room. How many graduated from HAC? Okay, many of you, including our alumni president. Thank you. And our board chair, or our board member, Pete Wambach. Very good. How many of you are here for the very first time? Great. I want to let you know one thing. Classes and registration begin on Monday. So we look forward to letting you know that. We are very, very honored to be able to host the first mayoral discussion here tonight. We're very happy at Harrisburg Hope choosing this location. We want this to be the community's college, and this is just one of the ways that we're able to do that. We speak to our student leaders all the time on risking, on courage, on what it means to be a leader. And for that reason, we are so delighted that the candidates tonight are here at their favorite community college, and we're also grateful to them to have the courage to put themselves out there to lead this very fine city forward. And we at this community college look forward to working with these individuals to move our city forward. So again, thank you all for being here. We look forward to a great hour and a half with these candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ski, Harrisburg Area Community College. Many thanks to also to Khadija Kastriba, the student government president, Alliston Stark, the editor of the Fourth Estate, the campus newspaper, Brandon Shepard, Joseph Wozniak, and Debbie Eichenberger, who helped to make this event possible. Also to our Harrisburg Hope team, Destiny Hodges and Jennifer Young. Also to all of the volunteers who are making this a reality. Welcome to the first mayoral debate. My name is Alan Kennedy Schaefer, president of Harrisburg Hope. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the first mayoral debate. This is an historic occasion. It only comes around every 4 years, and we have several fine candidates with us tonight, and it's your job to decide who is best to help lead Harrisburg forward. We're going to open the mics to you very soon. The Harrisburg Hope prides itself on encouraging civil dialogue. So tonight, you get to ask the questions. We're going to invite you up to the microphone. Questions will be limited to 1 minute. Responses will be limited at first to 2 minutes and later to 1 minute to make sure that we can get in as many of your questions as possible. I know that we care about a lot of issues facing Harrisburg. So with that, I'd like to quickly introduce our candidates or panelists who are here tonight. Mayor Linda Thompson, Eric Pappenfuse, Louis Butts, Nevin Minland. We're excited to have all of you here. We invited all of the candidates to be part of our debate tonight, and we're thrilled to be partnering with Harrisburg Area Community College. So with that, I'd like to ask the first question for the candidates. One of the issues that has been a frequent topic of discussion lately has been the relationships between the mayor, the city council, and the receiver appointed by the governor to oversee the city's finances. If you are Harrisburg's next mayor, or in the case of the mayor, if you are re-elected as mayor, how will you ensure a constructive and productive relationship with City Council? And how do you see the relationship between the mayor and the receiver? We will start with Mayor Linda Thompson.
Thank you, Alan. Well, I'm going to stay the course. I have an excellent relationship with the receiver, both him and the prior receiver. You never heard any headlines about me having any differences with those individuals, and particularly in public. We are often allowed to disagree as long as we're agreeable. So I'll stay the course in that area. In the beginning, there were some rocky relationships with City Council and the mayor, and that's been smoothed out. And it's been demonstrated. A lot more is getting done now that there's a cooperative relationship with council and the mayor. The president and I had a 2-hour meeting several months ago and sat down and agreed to check the facts and continue to keep the factions out of our relationship. And we actually talk just about every week on issues regarding the city, particularly the recovery plan. She's in a lot of meetings with the receiver as well as me, and I'm going to stay the course. I not only have a great relationship with the receiver, but with council members and those in the county commissioner, and also a lot of elected officials around the region and also the state. And I'll continue to have that relationship open. It's important to have it. Cooperation is key to getting the city to solvency, and I'll continue to stay the course on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Pappenfuse.
Yes, I entered this campaign because I felt that we did have a relationship problem in Harrisburg, that we weren't having our relationships in our public sphere based on mutual respect and understanding for one another. I think it's essential, even in a strong mayor form of government, for the mayor to work side by side with City Council to understand that we are both elected by the same electorate and represent the same interests on behalf of the city. So my relationship would be one based on mutual respect and admiration. I'm pleased Susan Wilson is supporting our campaign. I have a good relationship with all of the city councilors, and I think with all 10 of the candidates that are currently running. That's going to be important for the next mayor to have, very, very important. And we need to support the receiver. This is a critical moment in our city's history. We're very close to a deal that will potentially solve our long-term debt issues, and the receiver deserves the support of the mayor. And if we talk about relationships more broadly, we also need to repair them with the county and the region.
Thank you, Mr. Pappenfuse. Mr. Butts.
Good evening. My relationship with City Council has always been the best. My relationship also with the mayor, the best. My relationship with the receiver, as well as the previous receiver, the best. We were able to establish the EAC. We work on the hydroelectric dam project in which both receivers approve of. So my relationship, as well as progress on projects that build infrastructure, are key. We must also work on a comprehensive plan to where the receivership can initiate the comprehensive plan, also have the connection and the relationship with the federal government, so we can get this our infrastructure where we need it to be, and that's to make revenue. I will go forward as well as to establish those relationships with other council members that are going to be elected in the near future. So we're going to establish those relationships.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. We're moving to Mr. Midland.
Thank you. I've had a very good relationship with City Council, and I've worked quietly with them on any number of issues over the last several years because I think it's important that they hear some good, sound policy. I worked very well with the receiver, notwithstanding our differences. And in fact, David Unkovic and I are friends, and that was notwithstanding the fact that I made clear to him the things that I thought were important to be heard by him. And I think those are the things that we have to continue to do here. There are things that are not quite right yet with the receiver's plan. And I think that it's important as we move forward, we make sure that however it closes up, when it closes up, that it's done well. And we don't have to defer in order to do that. We can do things with dignity, as I have done, and speak with intelligence and competence, and it will be heard, and I think will carry forward, just as I have done in the past. And I think that you're well understood and respected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Midland. My next question, and we're going to go in reverse order for this one. Again, you'll have 2 minutes to answer this question. The issue of Harrisburg's debt crisis is one that has plagued our city for several years now. $340 million in debt on a botched incinerator retrofit. Harrisburg has the ignominious reputation as having the highest debt per capita of any municipality in America. The issue of paying off that debt, frankly, I'm not sure whether we have the money. And it seems like there have to be some kind of concessions made from Harrisburg's creditors. This is made more hopeful with the recent ruling in the Stockton, California bankruptcy case, in which the judge ruled that the bankruptcy case may move forward because the creditors were not negotiating in good faith. How would you, as mayor, or being reelected as mayor, secure concessions from the creditors? We need some concrete steps to be able to do that. And on the flip side of that, how do we have some measure of justice or accountability for those who created this debt crisis? Mr. Midland.
We really have two debts. We have the structural debt deficit, and we have the incinerator, and you're discussing the incinerator. I'll focus on that. And I think Stockton is an excellent example of what needs to be done. First of all, you've got to reduce what you're doing down to vital and necessary services. Second, the same actors in Stockton are here. They weren't willing to really give up very much. I have a serious issue with the constitutionality of the debt. Municipal debt can be constitutional if it is within the debt limit of the city. This incinerator debt is not. It was approved by the voters above that. This incinerator debt was not. And having pressed for the Senate investigation and pressed for the investigation by the DA, I think there's very serious reason to believe that there's been fraud and other criminality here. If that's the case, then it was never self-liquidating, and therefore it doesn't meet any of the three tests. I'm not interested in causing a problem, but I am interested in defending the people of Harrisburg properly. If we can resolve this amicably, I'd be very happy to do that, but we have to do it honestly. When we solve the problem honestly, we will solve the problem well. And I think that the other element of this is...
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Midland. Mr. Butts.
Currently, we're in receivership. So the receiver and the state and the government are looking at the investigation. Right now, we got to make a landscape and create revenue. We need an industrial revolution in Harrisburg that we can change the mentality of our people to create, to build, to build revenue. The hydroelectric dam will build revenue. We need infrastructure that creates revenue. We have the farm show. We just lost $80 million. We must create more revenue, whether it's green industry, whether it's looking at more ways on how we can create revenue, building things. We must get into an industrial mindset. Our receivership is going to take care of what happened in the past. Right now, we need a new breath of leadership which will move forward to create revenue. If we Wi-Fi the city, our communication as well as our transparency within our city would be great. That's my answer. We must create more and more revenue. Look at any aspect we can do to make revenue and build money, get money, build and revenue. If we're not thinking revenue, we're not thinking nothing. Now, the more money we make, the happier our creditors are going to be. The hydroelectric dam is going to bring in more than $240 million annually off the river. We must harness our natural resources and use them wisely. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would say that there are actually three debt crises in Harrisburg. We have the structural deficit, we have the long-term debt, and we also have the school district's debt. But I'm going to take your question to mean the long-term debt associated with the incinerator, and I'd like to address that. I'm the person who in 2007, as an appointee to the Harrisburg Authority, said no. Don't borrow the money. We can't pay it back. I voted no. I was the first to use the term criminal. I explained that there were crimes that had been committed at the Harrisburg Authority, and I refused to sign off on documents that said that the debt was self-liquidating. Now, at the time, the community was not ready to believe that this was a house of cards. But I continued forward in the private sector, trying to bring people together at the bookstore to have informed conversations about this. I testified before the Act 47 hearing saying that we had to have the leverage of bankruptcy if we were going to get meaningful concessions from the creditors. And I've continued up, following up for accountability, working and testifying before the Senate Investigation Committee, and I will continue to push for real accountability for Harrisburg. What's happening in the debt crisis right now is that the receiver has come very close to putting a deal together that will solve the long-term debt issues, but we still require concessions from the county, and we require concessions from AGM. And I believe that both of those entities are looking to this election to see whether or not they will have a partner in the mayor's office that will be able to competently manage the city moving forward, so that if they do make those concessions, we won't end up bankrupt anyway. And that's the type of leadership that I will provide, and I look forward to talking about my plans for addressing all of these other debt crises. Thank you.
The question was, what concessions would you get from your creditor or creditors? And you specifically said AGM. I'm the most knowledgeable, the most experienced elected official on this dais tonight. Many get sound bites and go to quick meetings and come back and want to articulate like they've been involved with this process for years. I am an 8-year former councilwoman and now currently the mayor, and I'm honored to be the mayor. The creditors have been at the table from day one, and I was instrumental in bringing stakeholders to the table when I first became the mayor. AGM knows me by first name, and they've heard me loud and clear that in order to be able to solve this monumental crisis, they must take some sacrifice. They must take a hit. And they will repeat that over and over again, that this mayor has acted firmly and sternly in meetings that I've been in with the creditors. I don't recall ever Eric being in a meeting with the creditors, Nevin Midland, or Louis Butts. But I've been at that table because I am your mayor and I've been fighting for you. There are other creditors that are involved with this. The county commissioner is involved with it, and I've been very stern with them. And also the unions are very much involved with this, dealing with the structural deficits. So the creditors understand that if we don't want to go into bankruptcy, they have to make some concessions. And we have a great relationship with the county, with the creditors, and with the receiver. And the receiver is joined at the hip with us, that is with city council as well, now that they're in the rooms. And we are making sure that no deal gets settled unless we eliminate the debt. Let's take us down memory lane. The Act 47 had a plan in the beginning. Some wanted to file for bankruptcy, and they failed. The second plan came around. I was instrumental in creating that second plan. The receiver's plan is mirrored pretty much after my plan, and it calls for the elimination of debt. And the creditors understand that very clearly, and we are very diligently working with the creditors in the rooms now, along with the receiver, making sure that we get the best deal for the taxpayers of the city of Harrisburg. And that's how you solve the debt.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank the members of the HAC student government and the Fourth Estate, the campus newspaper, who are our timekeepers tonight. They're going to hold the signs up high so that you can see exactly how much time you have left. This next question, these next two questions are, you're going to have 1 minute to answer. And then we're going to open the mic so that the community can ask the rest of the questions, because we want to make sure that we have as wide a debate tonight as possible. So very quickly, for the candidates, the issue of guns and gun control has been in the news quite often. Harrisburg Hope hosted a forum on it, and we were delighted to have the mayor participate in that. And tonight I wanted to get as well the views of the rest of the candidates here on how will you make our city streets safer. with public safety being a core component of city government. We're going to start with Mr. Pappenfuse this time, and then we'll move from there.
Well, on the issue of guns, I think there are common sense compromises that we can all say are worthwhile to support. Comprehensive background checks, reporting lost and stolen weapons. I've spoken to many a gun owner, and they don't object to those at all. So we ought to be able to get that done. With regard to the issue of crime more generally, in 30 seconds, I think we need to do things such as fixing the lighting in our city, enforcing a curfew in our city, having more cameras, supporting the police act, you know, the PAL, working with grassroots neighborhood watches to empower them, creating opportunities for kids after school. And that could mean everything from keeping the libraries open later in the schools to having a public works program for youth in this city. I'd support all of that, as well as meaningful, real neighborhood policing where you know the officer in your neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pappenfuse. We're going to go to Mr. Butts next.
I believe that it's a systematic problem. We need a Harrisburg Police Academy and a high school to produce our own officers, to create that culture of competence with every officer, because right now our citizenry feels as though it's an officer versus the citizen, and we pay the officers to watch us. So if we incorporate a Harrisburg Police Academy, we will produce our own officers. In turn, it'll be a much more happy relationship between the resident and the officer. I also would like to make sure that, and when we get the Wi-Fi in the city, when we have a Wi-Fi cloud around our city, we can place cameras anywhere we want to and have a matrix and have a grid. That's very important when new technologies are right in front of us, and we need to incorporate and integrate those new sciences.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. Thank you. Mr. Midland.
I think one of the major issues, aside from the need for background checks and return of reporting stolen weapons, has to do with mental health issues. And there's more than we can discuss right here, and some of that is evident in our schools, as I've come to better understand. In terms of safer streets, it is not going to happen by PR ploys. It will happen by civic engagement. We have got to build civic engagement. That's the only way that this will really happen. David Kennedy, who's done a lot of work in this, understands that he has a whole model that's been developed in High Point. We had a public safety advisory committee. It was dismantled. We need to build it from the ground up. It's not a top-down thing. And last and most important, we have to begin to look at the management of our police department. It is simply, from all the conversation I've had with professionals, not managed well. It could be managed differently. We could deploy our officers better on the streets, and then we'll start getting some serious community policing, which has to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Midland. Mayor Thompson.
Experience, commitment, and results is what my leadership stands for. And I'm speaking from experience and perspective. Public safety has and will remain my #1 priority. When I first took office, I made a commitment to get the cops from behind their desk and out in the streets, and that happened. Unfortunately, when we were able to unravel and expose the serious structural deficits in the community, we had to redesign the police department in order to be able to continue to provide public safety. I continue to press for cops being out on the street in a minimal level. In fact, I demonstrated leadership by getting out there myself, walking every Thursday with the chief of police and the captain to show a presence of commitment and a sense of security. I also introduced the neighborhood safe zone recently, where we got our cops out there in those heavy drug-infested areas and crime areas, putting peace in the community, going in there enforcing law, stabilizing it with social services, and at the same time providing opportunities for housing construction, renovation, and at the same time demolishing properties and finding and citing slum landlords. That's how you stabilize your neighborhoods and help bring down the crime, and we're going to continue to stay focused on that great project.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next question, and this is going to be my final question at this point for the candidates, is is the issue of clean streets. This has also been a hot issue lately, with certain candidates starting cleanup programs. The mayor as well has started some cleanup programs, and I wanted specifically to ask you, in the long run, what kind of programs are going to make a difference in our community, in making sure that our streets are cleaner, but also that Harrisburg is a vibrant and appealing place to live, given the regional nature of our city and the need to draw people back into Harrisburg. We're going to start with Mr. Butts this time.
Thank you. I've always been involved in creating trails, heritage trails, the Susquehanna River Trail, Power, those organizations in which I founded. I feel as though if we look at our bike trails, our heritage trails, we can create a system where the federal government can actually help us to clean our cities. I figure that the city should clean our city totally and then leave it to the residents to manage and clean it up. But first, the city must clean the city first, so we can have an example of how we want our residents to keep the city clean. If we're asking the residents to clean their city, and they don't know how we want the city to be cleaned, then that's not their fault. As the government, as a city municipality, we must clean the city first, and then we ask the residents to keep it clean.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. Mr. Midland.
It's very disconcerting when you do community cleanups, and I've done many of them, to find the neighbor standing there watching you while you do it. Clean streets come with a community that has pride. I think we've got to press the 2-Minute Tuesday idea. Tara Aki deserves a lot of credit for that. Clean and Green Harrisburg is a coalition of people who have come together. In the long run, we have to personalize social responsibility. The fact of the matter is we can't afford to pay people to go out there and do it, and we shouldn't have to pay people to go out there and do it. We need a community that's able to pick up after itself. Unfortunately, the model is if you clean up after somebody, you know that they're going to wait for you to do it again. And that's what's happening, and we can't do that any longer. We have to get out there and help this community understand how to be a community again and work together with our sleeves rolled up to do that, so it becomes an effort that is an ongoing thing.
Thank you, Mr. Midland. Next is Mayor Thompson.
I'm living it. Alan said that I just started cleaning up. No, it's not that. I've been cleaning up the city as long as I remember. When I was on council, I was a part of many cleanup groups. Being in the mayor, you have a chance to utilize the staff you had, and as long as I'm the mayor, I will continue to clean up the city. It's really about personal pride, community pride, and city pride. In 2010, I organized 35 churches from around this region who came in, who do not live in this city but love this city, and organized a major cleanup in South Allison Hill, which is our most diverse area and the most highest crime and highest poverty. Cleaned up all the back alleys and the lots for 6 months every Saturday. And I got out there with my sneakers, my baseball cap, and my broom and my gloves and cleaned up to show leadership. And so again, until we can get our neighbors to take one day each day by sweeping down their own porch and sweeping down their own sidewalk, then we'll be able to have this thing catch on fire. But as long as we have trash in this city, I will continue to use the manpower we have to clean it up and use volunteers to do it like we're doing.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Pappenfuse.
I think it's twofold. We need to empower the grassroots activities of things like 2-Minute Tuesday and other grassroots organizations that are doing the hard work in the city. But we also need our leaders to lead by example and model a type of citizen activism. Our campaign every Friday is out in a different part of Harrisburg, picking up trash and helping inspire others to join us. There are little things we can do. We could change the trash receptacles in Harrisburg, make them easier and more accessible, require them in front of convenience stores. We could employ the use of cameras in a way that would be effective. We could emphasize recycling and composting in the city of Harrisburg to a much greater extent than where we are now, and that's something that we can work with the schools to do. But I also have a jobs program for Harrisburg. I think we can pay youth in our city to pick up the trash, minimum wage. I think we can fund it via a pilot program.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Papenfuse. At this point, I'd like, it's amazing. We have a full house again, probably more than 200 people here at HAC in the Cooper Student Center, and I welcome you to join us at the microphones. We want you to come down to ask the questions. Don't be shy. We need a lot of questions. Questions and answers are going to be limited to 1 minute each. And our gracious student volunteers are going to make sure that you can see the time limits so that you know how much time is remaining. So we have 2 microphones, one to my right, one to my left. I encourage you to step forward and be willing to ask your question for the next mayor of Harrisburg. Please state your name and then your question.
Am I allowed to use this? Cordell Affelt. My question is, what is the basic interest that you have in day-to-day management to make the city work? Things like answering phone calls, responding in an effective way. Basic management, what concerns you most?
Thank you. We're going to start with Mr. Minland on this question.
I think the problem of management in the city is a serious one. I think it was seriously depleted during the previous mayor, and I don't think it's been improved whatsoever under the current mayor. We really have to get some very good managers in there. I think the role of a mayor is to be a leader of a community. I think the role of the chief operating officer is to manage the day-to-day operations of the city. We need to get someone in there who's very good at what they do. We also have to start looking seriously at the way we do work in the city. There's a lot of places, not just answering phones, that just aren't simply done well. And there are things that we can do to wire our community into the city so that the city is more responsive, not the least of which is to use some of the better apps that are now on phones that are used in other places, and to Wi-Fi this city so we can communicate with each other well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minland. Mayor Thompson.
Well, it's easy to attack when you're not living this. But I happen to stand behind the staff that I have, and we have done one heck of a job in dealing with the monumental fiscal crisis that we've inherited, the worst in the history of the city of Harrisburg. And we have an Act 47 plan, and we're getting ready to turn the corner on showing this community that we will be solvent, and that the incinerator will be sold, and the structural deficits will be managed because the unions are in the room working with us, the county commissioners are working with us, the state officials are working with us, and we're working together. I personally answer the telephone. When my staff leaves at 5 or 5:30 and sometimes 6, I'm there until 8 and 9 o'clock at night making phone calls for those who call me during the day and can't reach me because I'm tied up into doing your business in meetings day after day, defending the city and fighting for a better city for us to move forward. This city is on its way to a great renaissance. Don't listen to the rhetoric up here. This city is going to be moving forward with solving our crisis, and the mayor will personally return your call. Try me, and you'll see.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Papenfuse.
I think a lot of us have experiences in this city of calling City Hall and maybe reporting a pothole or a light down and not getting a quick and rapid response. I'd like to see a citywide 311 system modeled on what they have used in Chicago. Google it. It's a terrific system. You can email, text, call the city. You can text a photo of a pothole or a downlight or a developing sinkhole, and it will be tracked. You will get an immediate response. You will understand how the progress works. It's a part of making our city government more accountable to the public. And good leadership to me is modeling accountability. I have experience in the business world attracting talent, encouraging people to come and work for me, letting them do their jobs, as I am my managers at the bookstore right now, and getting things done by working together with people and inspiring your staff to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Papenfuse. Mr. Butts.
Again, I am a fighter for the future. If I'm mayor, the city will be Wi-Fi. There will be transparency. There will be accountability. There will be a new style of education. Other cities around the country, when they're moving forward, they're making sure there's transparency because it's Wi-Fi. That's the name of the game. If you want transparency in the next era, in the future, we must have access to the internet at all times. That's how things are transparent in the future, and that's where I'm leading my city. That's where I'm leading my people, and we will be the smartest citizenry in the country.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. We move now to the next question. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Good evening, Robert Henyon, candidates. If elected mayor, what would you do to contribute to the constant problems between police officers and the dog population? There have been multiple animals shot as recently as March, one actually in front of children in the city. And also, every year, the Humane Society contract has been consistently at risk, which has contributed to the problem. What would you do to ensure that it gets paid on time and to fix this problem?
Thank you. Mayor Thompson.
Let me first of all say that my police officers, I don't know of one of them that aren't animal lovers, not isolated to dogs, but aren't animal lovers. And in spite of them having to wear a badge and a gun to deal with some of the most violent criminals that walk our streets, they have enough time to care for dogs, and so do I. I don't own a dog. I wouldn't have one, but at the same time, I love the dog that we have that protects the citizens when they're out there and also the police officers. The contract had nothing to do with the dogs being shot, and so let's not convolute the two. The contract was almost 30 years old and needed to be vetted, and I took my time vetting that contract no matter how small that dollar was, as I do the large contracts, and I will continue to operate that way as the mayor. And so again, the contract was finally vetted the way we wanted it to, small or large amendments, we got it done, and there's no problem. Funding has been the issue. And we were hoping that the Animal Society would have been a little bit more gracious with us like our other creditors and would have given us some time. But they demanded their money, and we finally got it to them, and the relationship seems to be working. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Papenfuse, we ask that you hold applause so that we can hear the responses. Everyone up here received a warm round of applause already, so we're going to just listen to what they have to say.
I would say that the mayor is in charge of making sure that our police department sets the right tone in the way it interacts with the community, and that applies equally to people as it does to animals. I think we have to revisit our dog licensing policies in the city of Harrisburg. I think we have to work more closely with the Humane Society and other organizations in a way that isn't confrontational. I think we should explore leash laws and issues such as dog parks. We could certainly stand to have more dog parks in the city, and I believe HYP is moving in that direction right now to create one. It's simply about setting a tone. I know that the police officer that shot the dog was greatly shaken up by that, and I'm not sure that that anyone from city government spoke to that.
Thank you. Mr. Butts.
We must create a social network that maybe all the dog owners can talk together, work together on training one another's dogs to be more responsive, to be more civilized as pets even. I think our citizenry can amp it up a little bit more in their conscience, in their pet consciousness. We can. And we will work together to make our pets the best pets, again, in the world, the smartest dogs. Everybody likes smart dogs. We will have smarter dogs. Even our dogs will be smarter.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. Mr. Minland.
The animal issue is a very serious issue, and I've had many conversations with my friends who are active in the animal rights world about that, including the need to completely rethink the way we go about dealing with animal issues in our community, including greater responsibility within the private sector, nonprofit sector, to take on some of this. We have a limited police budget. We have some very serious police problems. I think we've got to figure out how we get community service officers into the street and neighborhoods, try to take on some of the responsibilities of what's going on in a way that we can begin to manage our police so that they can really truly deal with the serious police problems, and that we start to take up some of the issues like animal problems, which we have serious problems with, in a way that is more embedded within the community. And I think that we haven't begun to seriously talk that through yet, and there are a lot of good ideas out there that have to be heard.
Thank you. Moving right along to our next question.
Tim Doutrick, long legacy of public service here in Harrisburg since the early 1900s, family legacy. What training does everybody else have? I know the mayor, she has training since the day she was born, because she was born and raised here. So what training do the other people have? Also, a concern that I have, we've questioned our chief officer by presenting things to court and spending taxpayers' money with legal fees. I'd like to hear some comments about that. Sometimes to defend our decisions, we must incur a great deal of legal fees. I have a problem with taxpayers fighting ourselves. I'd like some comments about your training, what you've had, and how you feel about the legal fees that have been incurred by us to defend ourselves. We do need checks and balances, but we don't need to incur additional legal fees fighting decisions made by our CEO.
Thank you. Mr. Papenfuse.
All right. First, with regard to training, my wife and I moved to Harrisburg about 15 years ago, thinking that we would become teachers. I taught in the public school system for a while, and then decided that I would start a business from scratch right here in the city. And over the past decade plus, it has developed into a multi-million-dollar success story in very difficult times. I've created jobs. I have attracted people to the city of Harrisburg, and I've created a space where people come together. Unlike really any other space in Harrisburg, we can do that citywide. With regard to legal fees, I think it is a terrible travesty that we have had, especially over the past 4 years, a controller which has repeatedly sued our mayor, wasting money, time, and resources again and again over things such as payroll and artifacts that we should easily be able to resolve. Imagine if those resources had been spent completing our audits or other things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Papenfuse. Mr. Butts.
Training, I was born in Harrisburg Hospital in 1966. I went through the school system. I worked for the archives. I was the last cartographer for the land office that William Penn set up. My history in Pennsylvania, my history of Pennsylvania, as well as central Pennsylvania is second to none. I was a geologic librarian. I know our minerals and our natural resources better than anybody up here, I'm sure. Training-wise, I'm devoted, and I love my city as well as my citizenry better than anybody up here, I'm sure. And I would prove that, and I would prove that. If you elect me mayor, I'm #1 on the ballot, and make sure, if you're not registered to vote, April 22nd is the last day to register, so register.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. Mr. Midland.
I have a high school degree. I graduated from Goddard College. I have a master's in public policy from Lehigh University. I worked for the House of Representatives for 16 years. I worked for the governor for 8. We had a 40th anniversary for CAT. When I started out with the House, I completely rewrote mass transit funding law and the SEPTA system. I know how important mass transit is. We're talking about a 45-acre KOZ in Harrisburg. I essentially wrote the KOZ bill. I worked with budgets at the size of Labor and Industries budget. I certainly know how to deal with budgets. My advocacy has been used to advocate, and it was my responsibility, along with some others working with me, who managed to get the Senate to hold the hearings that we had. I think that I've exemplified in a lot of ways what my experience can do for Harrisburg. In terms of legal fees, sometimes you have to judiciously go to court, but there's no reason why we've been there the way we've been there.
Thank you.
And it's a waste.
Thank you, Mr. Midland. Mayor Thompson.
Well, certainly I would have preferred not to end up in court, but as the mayor and the CEO of this city, I have to defend the integrity of the office, and those positions were necessary. When you have someone who is reaching over into the executive branch of power, wanting to be the mayor when they're the comptroller, and is absolutely disrupting the day-to-day operations of the administration, then it's time to be able to let a judge unfortunately settle. The court was settled with the artifacts. Miller did sign those contracts, but I'm not going to make this debate about him because he's not here, and I'm not going to waste your time or mine. I got bigger things, important things to talk about here tonight. The fact of the matter is that this administration is managing this city more effectively than ever before. We're coming out of our crisis. My experience, I'm born and raised in the city of Harrisburg. I graduated from Howard University, but it's most important the experience I bring to the table. 8-year council member, certainly know the ins and outs of this government, and certainly has taken this ship by the horn and has kept this ship afloat in its most critical times in the history of its financial crisis. We have a plan. We're moving forward, and I ask you.
Thank you, Mayor. We're moving to our next question. State your name, and you have 60 seconds.
Good evening, candidates. Marvin Ingram. The fiscal health of Harrisburg fundamentally impacts the region economically. As mayor, would you support a coalition of local municipalities to establish a regional authority to consolidate overlapping public safety and sanitation services?
We're going to start with Mr. Butts this time.
No. I think Harrisburg as a municipality can be self-sustaining and independent from anything on the outside of our lines, our city lines. Our capital is strong. Our capital is resilient. The people of the capital city are also intelligent and resilient. We have the farm show that can bring in money each and every quarter. We can run events. We can we can re-market our city. No, we don't need that much help regionally. We can do it within ourselves. We can toll our bridges, hydropower. We can do a lot of things that our forefathers had set up the city to be, and we can achieve. So no, I don't want to cross no reach. I don't want Hershey cops coming into Harrisburg. No, and going down 6th Street.
Thank you, Mr. Butts.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. Mr. Midland.
I really support a regional approach to many things, but there are some things that really belong locally, including certain policing things. I think that we need to seriously look at regionalization of water and sewer. My problem, however, is that we have a model for regionalization in this community which has been part of the debacle. Solid waste management is a county-level responsibility by state law. And they have the responsibility for all of solid waste throughout the county. That's a region. They made the incinerator the single source of disposal. They shut down all the other sources of places to do it. And what we've ended up with is them pointing the finger at us. That is not a way to go about regionalization. We've got to find another way to go about it, and we've got to figure out a model to make it work. But the leadership at the county level hasn't been very good at it. And I think there are local officials that would do it, and we've got to figure out how to reach to them and figure out how to get to a different model.
Thank you, Mr. Midland. Mayor Thompson.
Regionalism is something that's been a part of this administration since we introduced the recovery plan. Public safety is our #1 priority in this administration, and there are times when we do need help. And we have a partnership with Dauphin County, the Special Crimes Unit, where we do use joint resources. It's a great way to streamline resources when you're in financial crisis. It's a great way to utilize your manpower more effectively. So we do share resources. We've been very effective when we get high crimes in our community and also high crowds. We are already currently working and exploring a regional board for the Harrisburg Authority, and we're also exploring the sewer and water system, and the county and the Harrisburg Authority are working with the city to make sure that we come out with a smart plan for the best interest of the region and its taxpayers.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Papenfuse.
Yes, I support a regional approach. I think it is the future of government. I think it is important to emphasize. I would just add that if we're going to have regionalism, we have to have the goodwill of the surrounding municipalities and surrounding counties and communities. And that's going to require healing the divides, the East-West Shore divide, the divide between the city and the county. Those are some of the divisions that we need to work on to establish goodwill. But we can have regionalism in a lot of other forms. We could have regionalism in our school district. You might see a county-wide administrative system for the school district that could be a cost savings for many of the different districts within the county. You could see a regionalism of the Harrisburg park system. The county does a terrific job of managing its parks. Why can't we potentially see regionalism there? And the mayor's right. We're seeing it with the Harrisburg Authority already. It's part of the future of the Harrisburg Authority as an operating authority.
Thank you, Mr. Papenfuse. Our next question.
My question is directed to Paplis, Lewis, and Midland. Where have y'all been? Did y'all just come on the scene or what? Because we haven't seen you up in our neighborhoods at all, except around election time. It's the only time that you come up there. You talk about the crime and stuff. Mayor Thompson has been doing the best that she can do. And 4 years that she's been there, if you realize she has been doing things, if you was out there walking around where she walks around, and you would find out. You come here and you say, you want this here, and you want that there. I don't see any good that you're talking, you know what I mean? It's just a bunch of flim-flam that you're talking. I mean, let's get to the truth. Be for real. You cannot deny her 4 more years.
Thank you for your question. You can start.
I've never disrespected my mayor. I was always on my mayor's. I will defend my mayor. Don't get me wrong. But I've been around. I'm on the EAC, the Environmental Advisory Council Committee, and I am active. I'm extremely active. I'm just, I don't know where you haven't seen me. I'm everywhere. I swear, I don't know where you haven't seen me. I'm in every nook and cranny in the
Thank
city.
you, Mr. Butts. Mr. Midland.
Why? You gotta be kidding me.
Mr. Midland, anything to add?
Actually, I think that's more of a statement than a question, quite frankly. I have to, at least on this one, piggyback on Mr. Butts. I mean, I've been a lot of places with Mr. Butts. I don't know how you missed me right along with him. Have we not been? What do you think, Lewis?
I don't know. You'll see me out there.
Thank you, sir. We're going to let the candidates answer. Mr. Papenfuse, anything to add?
Yes. I think your question speaks to the larger disparities that we have in our city. We have a real racial divide in our city. We have a true and tragic class divide in our city, a geographic divide. And we need an administration that is going to work to bridge those divides, that is going to create an administration that can bring the best and the brightest to represent the real diversity of this city. And that's what I am fighting to try and do here. I was very concerned that in the election, if I had not entered, the race would have split along those lines. And I think we're offering an alternate path, a different way of doing things. And I think that we have created a space in the bookstore which you can judge. It is one of the few places in Harrisburg where people come together to transcend those divisions on a regular basis. And let me tell you, it's an intentional choice, and it's a very difficult thing to do, but we can do it.
Thank you, Mr. Papenfuse. The final word, Mayor Thompson.
I don't need a bookstore to bring people together. I'm living it. And I don't need to be a businesswoman to run this city. I am running the city, and I'm running it effectively, considering the crisis that we have. But we're turning the corner now. We all have a responsibility to respect one another, no matter what color, age, or religion we are. One of the most segregated times in America still is in the churches. And so don't tell me it's going to take a bookstore to bring responsible, intelligent men and women together. We're living it. We're doing it. There's no color divide in this administration. We don't discriminate. In fact, I'm proud of Harrisburg because you made me your first African-American mayor. So we've already started to turn the corner on this whole racial divide thing. I wish people would do more living it than talking about it. And certainly I'm not out here buying votes and putting people on my payroll to get votes for me who are opposite of my color. So let's keep the issues in the right perspective. This administration is very diverse.
Thank you, Mayor. The next question, if you would state your name, you have 60 seconds.
Good evening. My name is Shaka Easter. With education being very important, there's a lot of issues going on in this city, but me not having any children but paying the education tax, what is your plan to improve education for our future, which are our children?
Thank you for your question. On the issue of education, we're going to, is there a volunteer who wants to start on this question? We'll start with the mayor and move down to the end of the table from there.
It's a very important question, and I think it's a question of today. When you talk about crime in your neighborhood and you identify the reasons of crime, I was on the phone today with the President of the United States along with other mayors discussing this whole jobs program that we've already started when I was the mayor of the city in 2010. Every year we commit to hiring youth every summer in our parks, recs, and enrichment. We also have a cleanup program with kids involved, and Eric, thank you for taking the ideal, because certainly with you being involved, we can do a lot better with our kids in terms of teaching them how to clean the neighborhoods. But quality education is key. If our kids do not get a quality education, they will end up in prison. And you're seeing more and more African-American men who are in prison because they have lack of skills and lack of quality education. We each need to take a mentor on in our house or in our bookstore and start an after-school program teaching young kids how to read and understand the importance of education. My parents taught me the value of education. They didn't finish school, but they invested in me, and I am a product of their investment. So parents, community.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Pappenfuse.
I don't think there's any more critical issue to our city's future than our education system, which is currently failing us. I am a former teacher, a public school teacher. I've been in the classroom where there haven't been enough books, where there haven't been enough chairs. I've had to sit with parents and explain why their 7th and 8th grade daughter couldn't read. I've had those conversations, and it gives me a particular perspective and a drive to want to do more to fix our city schools. And we're going to need a mayor that takes education on as his or her #1 priority, and it would be my #1 priority. So let me tell some of the things that we can do. And I did issue a press release on education policy today to the media. We can give incentives right away for teachers to move into the district. We can extend library hours within our schools to provide spaces for the very mentoring which I agree with the mayor is so desperately needed. We have programs like the 500 Men reading program that could expand into school libraries.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, Mr. Butts on education.
It's about location, location, location. We have the Department of Agriculture, DCNR, DEP. They all have education modules K through 12. Harrisburg School District has never took those education modules and incorporated them into our curriculum. If we would do that, that would save us money, as well as look at our access to the farm show. We could teach our kids equestrian sports. It's important. Why is our events held at the farm show and we're never apart? Our children can learn how to ride horses and do rodeos. It's our job to use the resources that are right here by the state. DCNR has a fantastic, the Game Commission, the Fish Commission, they all have free education modules that we just don't use. Let's incorporate those education modules into our curriculum for free and use what the state has to offer instead of snubbing.
Thank you. Mr. Midland.
Education is critically important. And I talked about that the last time I ran. But the fact of the matter is, under the circumstances, really running and building our community is where the mayor's job needs to be. Now, there's a lot that crosses over. Children's mental health is a serious issue. My wife and Pastor Dixon spoke with professionals in the school district, and they spoke about Children in kindergarten punching each other in the face. You can't teach if your social programs, if it's all broken down. Where the city can help the school district is to work on the side of community capacity building, work on the side of helping this community heal itself and heal its families, and that will make it easier for teachers to be able to teach when they have family structures that are working. We can interface with that. There are other places we can interface and share costs and responsibilities. But as much as and as important as education is, we really need to stay focused on what the city's about.
Thank you, Mr. Midland. At this point, as we prepare for the next question, I wanted to, at this point, give a round of applause for the courage and the dedication of the candidates who are here with us tonight, who are here to answer your questions. We hope that you will have more questions, and so please give the candidates for mayor a round of applause. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize the other candidates and who are here with us tonight. I understand that we have city council candidates, including Camille Reese, Pat Stringer, Ben Allett, Ron Chappell, Rob Drum. And I wanted to thank the other candidates for city council for coming out. Many of you were at our city council debate last week, which was a spirited and yet civil dialogue on issues that will face the next members of city council. So a round of applause for them. And I would also like to encourage you now and after our program to sample some of the refreshments that are in the back of the room. We have some great refreshments. Our Harrisburg Hope Vice President Jennifer Young is coordinating that, and also wanted to invite you to watch this program this weekend on the Pennsylvania Cable Network. It's exciting that we have some statewide attention paid to this race because Harrisburg matters. So now we're going to go to our next question.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rebecca Korn, and I was wondering, I believe that a strong team creates a strong movement. What exactly will you do to attract and retain highly qualified professional staff to redefine our city's image?
Thank you for the question. We're going to start with Mr. Pappenfuse on this question.
It's critical that we have a strong team. We do have a strong team right now working on the long-term debt issue. The receiver has been able to tap a tremendous number of talented people to come and work on those issues. But we need a team that is pervading every aspect of this city. And my experience in business has been to surround myself with strong individuals, listen to their opinions, and recognize that no one individual can do this alone. And if somebody else has a better opinion, then I'm always willing to listen. I think the leadership style of this administration and the past administration has been much more of a my way or the highway attitude when it comes to leading. And that's not my experience in the business world. That doesn't get things done. It doesn't solve things. If we're talking about recruitment more generally, I think we need to talk about exploring residency. I'd like to move to an incentive-based residency system for the city, similar to what I was talking about for teachers.
Thank you, Mr. Pappenfuse. We're going to Mr. Butts.
We want to look at our resources within the city. We have retired doctors, we have retired accountants, we have people who are very, very witty and are well-to-do within the city of Harrisburg. I want my citizenry to look upon ourselves to bring ourselves out of this situation. We're smart, we're capable, and the pride in which we will instill in our children and for the future in our neighbors will happen if we come together, and we will succeed. But there's resources, there's people that have the know-how to put this town back on its feet. And we can, but within ourselves, within our own house. I don't have to go outside of my house to get the resources I need to build the house from the inside. It takes us, it takes a heart, it takes a knowingness that and a trust within our neighbor to make it
Mr.
better.
Midland.
Good leadership and good management releases the talent's potential that we have, and I think that there are some good people that are in City Hall, and I think that given an opportunity, they can excel. I also think that you attract good people, and I've been able to do that throughout my career. I do also agree with Eric that residency is an issue here. I would want people to live in Harrisburg, but I think that the reality of the circumstances, until we're able to turn the corner on this, is that we'll do better attracting the quality that we need to help turn the corner if we allow people to live within a certain distance to be able to be responsive to our needs in the city, but not necessarily live in the city. That's just a fact. That's a fact with the police and professionals I've talked with in the field.
Thank you, Mr. Midland. Mayor Thompson.
I inherited the residency requirement. 95% of the city staff are from the outside region. And I do respect strong, intelligent men and women, and I am surrounded by those individuals. And there is a strong team in place. Every now and then, administration will have some come and go. You'll have some disgruntled employees out there who either got fired or terminated. And they want you to believe that this administration, under my leadership, is heavy-handed. I'm a firm and stern leader, and tough times calls for tough decisions and a tough leader, and that I am. I don't have time and patience for wimpy, whiny people. We got big things to do. And so I say that to say that we got a strong team around us. The receiver and I have an excellent relationship, and my staff are very smart people, and they're dedicated and they're doing the people's work. We have limited resources. We're doing much more with less money, and we're continuing to keep the doors of the city government open, and we're still doing business in every neighborhood. 1,674 new businesses were started under my leadership. 1,234 jobs was created.
Thank you, Mayor.
And we're just going to move on.
Thank you. We're going to move at this point to the next question. If you would state your name, you have 60 seconds.
Good evening. I'm Stuart Henretta, and as mentioned earlier this evening, South Allison Hill is the most culturally diverse, not to mention the most poverty-stricken area in Harrisburg. As mayor, what would you do to assist in restoring self-sufficiency as well as breaking the poverty levels, not to mention to lower recidivism rates?
Thank you. This time we're actually going to start with Mr. Midland to make sure that everyone has the same opportunities.
South Allison Hill certainly has its share of problems. I have to tell you, Camp Curtin's severely distressed as well. You've got a 40% poverty rate up there and a 30% single parent situation and a lot of turnover. It's really a very bad situation. The best way to grow an economy and start to create the opportunities that we need to start to create are, one, to start working on our own problems. We've got a lot of housing stock, and I think that there are people who are capable of being contractors that ought to be able to work on some of that, and that will help to create better housing, and I don't think it has to be done through government. And the other thing is that we need to stop the problem of crime and blight. When we can start to increase the population, and that's the way we'll get out of this financial fix, business will follow. And when business follows, they will hire the people that are here. So we've really got to deal with those issues, and we can start to turn the corner on here. We need more diversity in our economic folks, not just the diversity of, of our...
Thank you, Mr. Midland. Mayor Thompson.
We're living it. Community development is key to attracting people in divested neighborhoods. Poverty is the root cause of crime. And we're working right now very closely with a number of partners in that area. There are 24 nonprofits located in your region. And Community Action Commission is a leader among the leaders in that neighborhood. And they do a lot of self-sufficiency and job training programs. We partner with them on a number of projects. $7 million over the last 4 years has been invested in that neighborhood under our federal grant money that we give out for housing construction, renovation, and then in return we're creating jobs for some subcontractors to help create jobs in that neighborhood. So we're going to continue to stay the course there and help clean up that neighborhood. And we have a big KLZ legislation that's coming forward that would help induce and encourage economic development to create jobs. And we're also, we've demolished 70 properties in that neighborhood, and we're restoring the housing infrastructure block by block over there.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Papenfuse.
If we're going to get at the root causes of recidivism and poverty, we're going to have a bold initiative in this city to create opportunities for people and jobs. I've created jobs in Harrisburg. I've created opportunities. You can see what I've done. At the moment, we don't have an economic development coordinator for the city of Harrisburg. We don't have a comprehensive economic strategy that goes neighborhood by neighborhood in this city and says, this is where a small business needs to go. These are buildings that need to be demolished. This is our approach. I think a smart use of a KOZ makes sense. I have a warehouse on South 17th Street. The potential is enormous, but there's going to need to be incentives for that development. I think tax abatement is a part of those incentives. We ought to have it, both for developers and for potential home buyers. But this isn't going to happen without a comprehensive strategy for the entire city.
Thank you. Mr. Butts.
Unlike Eric, he looks at business for his own benefit. On the south end of Harrisburg, we have PennDOT. If we build a PennDOT Plaza that has 30 stores, maybe 8 eateries to where people who visit PennDOT can go and eat, and then we can have the people that reside in Hall Manor can work in those shops and stores. These are the type of comprehensive plan initiatives I've been working on for 13 years. I know what we need for our city. In the uptown area, it's our 150th anniversary of the Civil War. Why don't we work on an economic plan for uptown Harrisburg to help bring pride to our people because we won the Civil War? That's an economic tourism attraction. Why isn't our administration, why isn't any geniuses out there doing that? That's my question.
Thank you. With that, we're going to move to the next question. Please state your name. You have 60 seconds.
My name is Mr. Boyd. What a pleasure being here this evening. And I'd like to say to the Honorable Linda D. Thompson, congratulations for another 4 years. I am the one that can predict and can see many things in my great city and hers. Everyone that's up on the panel, so to speak, you're wasting your time. Now, I can say that very earnestly because I know everyone up there. I like a good show. I say that all over the city. I know all of you. All of you. All I say, once again,
Thank you. We're going to move to our next question. Appreciate the sentiment. Please state your name. You have 60 seconds.
My name is Jasmine Hambleton, and as I'm sure you are aware, the majority of Harrisburg's employees are commuters. As I'm sure you are aware, the majority of Harrisburg's employees are commuters, which leads to a daytime population that significantly outnumbers our residential population. This leads to a larger amount of money leaving the city compared to that coming in. I know you've all talked about increasing revenue. A good way for increasing revenue is increasing our residential population. What specific incentives do you plan on offering if elected?
Thank you. We're going to start with Mayor Thompson.
First of all, the city has to become solvent. Businesses need to have a sense of security to know that the city's finances are going to be stable. And that's precisely what our end result's going to be. As I said to you, our goal is to make the city solvent, and we are optimistic about making that happen. We are calling for the recovery plan, the selling of the assets in terms of the incinerator to be sold and the Harrisburg parking garages to be leveraged, and to work on the structural deficits. And at the same time, streamline our government to make sure that there's competency there and that people are being responded to effectively. And so again, it's about forging partnerships with CREDIC, with the Community Action Commission, with all of the businessmen in this community. As I said to you, $160 million in new revenue has been generated, even in the cloud of all of this, because this administration has been very effective at forging partnerships to create jobs, grow businesses, sustain them, and create investment in those disinvested neighborhoods. And that's what we're going to continue to stay focused on.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Papenfuse.
We do have to solve the looming debt crisis, and we have to instill confidence in people. I've spoken to a number of realtors that say that there is a huge bubble surrounding the city. If you look at the population of Harrisburg vis-a-vis other cities in the region, we've basically flatlined. And there are people out there that still understand the allure of urban living, want to move into the city, but are scared about the possibility of bankruptcy or skyrocketing taxes, or when irresponsible things are floated like a 10% school tax. For you, I want to say, if you come into the city of Harrisburg and you buy a property and you fix it up, I'm not going to tax you on those improvements right away. I'm going to give you an abatement over time. And the reason I'm going to do that is because we need that type of incentive. I'm also going to offer teachers and others who want to buy homes in the city low interest loans and other incentives to get them to move into the city and want to live in the city rather than being required.
Thank you, Mr. Papenfuse. Mr. Butts.
I'm concentrating on the people in Harrisburg. I want the people who are renting houses right now to be able to have their own home ownership. If I had it, I would definitely toll the bridges. The bridges were built as toll bridges. Our forefathers had put the Harvey Teller and the other bridges as toll bridges. We can make revenue if we toll our bridges. Now, my point is, I want to make sure that my people are home owners. Whoever's renting, we can get you a job within Harrisburg, and make enough money so you can have your own home. I want my own residents to have home ownerships. I want my rental numbers to go down and my home ownership to go up. Not necessarily people from outside coming in, but the people who live here to have home ownership.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. Mr. Midland.
I would recommend one of the things you read is City Contented, City Discontented, because, and to look into the City Beautiful movement. 100 years ago, this town was a mess, and civic engagement took it from 50,000 people to 98,000 people. We're down to something around 49,000, 50,000 people. They substantially left because of the perceived and reality of crime and blight. We need to solve those problems, and we've got to engage in civic empowerment in order to be able to do that and recreate community that was the vitality of this in the essence. We can also encourage employers to bring their employees in, as the University of Pennsylvania has done in the West Philadelphia area. And I do agree that tax abatement properly done so it's not gamed can be an effective tool.
Thank you, Mr. Midland. For the last couple of questions from the community, we're going to limit responses to 30 seconds, and then you can have an extra 30 seconds after everyone's had a chance to respond. I do also want to say to the candidates who are up here, Independent candidate Nevin Midland, Democratic candidate Louis Butts, Democratic candidate Eric Papenfuse, and Democratic candidate Mayor Linda Thompson, that you are not wasting your time here. We have a full house here tonight. It's wonderful to have so many people here at Harrisburg Area Community College for the Harrisburg Area Community College and Harrisburg Hope mayoral debate, the first in this great city. So with that, we're going to take our next question.
Good evening. First, as a public servant, I give you the honor and respect to even take the courage to sit up there and listen to criticism as a mayor or as a potential mayor that you get. And thanks for the courage of standing up and trying to do better for Harrisburg. But I have a lot of family and friends that live in Harrisburg, a big network. I moved from Harrisburg, but I come here often. But you didn't get an opening statement, so you answered a lot of questions. But why you and not Linda Thompson? And why Linda Thompson you and not those three? Thank you.
Is there a volunteer who'd like to start? Mayor Linda Thompson.
Thank you. That was a great question. Why me? First of all, I'm born and raised in the city of Harrisburg, and I have a passion for this city. I could have done like my college friends did and went off and got a big job somewhere else, but I chose to come back home and help grow our city. My family's here, my mom's here, my mom and dad are right here with me. I don't leave home without them. This city is a great city. It's a great city to work, live, and play. And you need to kind of leader at the helm of this ship to guide it to recovery, and I've been doing exactly that.
Thank you.
I'm strong in my leadership. You didn't put no timeline on us. That person asked a question. You didn't say it was going to be a minute. You didn't say it.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to do a 30 seconds, and then you'll have an extra 30 seconds after everyone has a chance to answer. So we'll come back to you. Mr. Papenfuse.
I asked that question, why me, to myself, and I'll tell you honestly, I answered it in looking in the eyes of my 3 children. It's my daughter's 11th birthday today. I also have 2 sons, and I want a future for this city for them. I want a city that they are proud of. It's the only city they've known. They were born here, they've been raised here. I don't want them to flee from Harrisburg at the first opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Butts.
I was born and raised here. I raised my son. He graduated from college with a marine biology degree, and I can definitely lead this city into the future from a national point of view as well as an environmental point of view. We can go into the future, and we're going straight ahead. If you elect me or not, I'm gonna work with the next mayor, and we will definitely move forward. I am not giving up on my city or my people.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. Thank you, Mr. Midland.
4 years ago when I ran for mayor, the last time Harrisburg was in severe distress, it was unraveling. Vital and necessary services weren't being provided. We were being crippled with extraordinary crime and pervasive blight. And it was severely deteriorating, both socially and economically, and quite frankly, very little has changed in many respects. I think we have huge potential in Harrisburg. We have great assets and great people. And I've committed to be here, and I am trying very hard to help to make this town the kind of place we want to be.
Thank you, Mr. Midland. We're going to come back now to Mayor Linda Thompson.
Every morning I get up with a new sense of hope and a commitment to give this community a better future. I'm living it. There is no need to change the course or the direction of the ship in the middle of the ocean. You will be starting all over again, taking us back 20 years, because they would have to learn the process all over again. We have a strong team in place. We have strong partnerships with our business community. We have our hands and our finger on the pulse of the crime in the community. We're growing jobs and we're growing businesses, and we have a recovery plan that will soon take us out of this crisis and into solvency. That's why I want to continue to remain the mayor, to continue to finish the job I started to do, and that is to make Harrisburg a better place for all.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Papenfuse, please hold your applause so we can
I would say respectfully, there are some things that we need to change in our city, and one of those is in our government. We have to have a government which isn't based on the politics of personality, which doesn't write people off as evil or somebody that you can't work with, or a personality that is too difficult to bring to the table to get things done for the common good. We've got to end the lawsuits, we've got to end the fighting, we've got to inspire people to want to run for office and take our political spirit back.
Thank you, Mr. Papenfuse. Mr. Butts.
By unveiling a comprehensive plan that everybody can see and everybody can chime into, where everybody knows the piece of the puzzle in which they are, is going to move our city forward. Right now, we don't have a comprehensive plan. With me, we will have a comprehensive plan that will talk about and will display an infrastructure that we can believe in for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. Mr. Minland.
We have a great opportunity in Harrisburg. As I said, 100 years ago, we had a mess in our hands, and we came together. Both parties have been a problem to us. It's time for some real independent thinking. It's time we started to come together as a community and had serious conversation and learned how to work together. We need to do that, and we have the ability to do that. And the future is ours if we take hold of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minland. At this point, we're getting close to being at the end, so I want to hear the questions, and then we're going to give the candidates a little bit of time to respond with 1-minute answers. But I want to hear the questions from the community members who have been waiting at the microphones. So if you would say your name and.
Hi, my name is Brandon Burton. My question is, with the crime rates in Harrisburg on the rise and the response times that are continuing to take longer, what would be your plan to help increase the city's security, whether you're elected or reelected?
Thank you. We're going to hear the next question.
My name is Khaldoon Rashid. Excuse me. Criminal activity and organized crime in the city generates a whole lot of unaccounted for funds, and they're getting away with not paying any taxes for it. The only one that's getting anything out of it is the county. When people go to prison or whatever, they have fines, costs, and restitutions, but the city doesn't get anything out of it. The only thing that the city of Harrisburg gets is from parking tickets, and we need to do something about that. What are you willing to do to change the face of that game? Because they're sitting on millions and millions of dollars, and you got to twist their arm just to get something for the bonds.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else waiting on to my right? Then at that point, we're gonna hear the questions from my left.
Was told the mayor has been doing a tremendous job the last 4 years, despite she had opposition. Now,
if you
providing.
would ask your question.
Okay, the question is, providing that you don't get elected, are you still going to be a part of the team of making change in Harrisburg? And how?
Thank you. The next question.
My name is Marcia, and I'm old, so I haven't seen anybody address the issue of being old in here. I think there's a couple people, but they haven't addressed the issue of what do I do when a street light is out? What do I do when somebody's knocking on a first floor door for an hour in the middle of the night and I'm on the second floor? What number do I call? What actually is an answer for me as an elderly person so that they don't ask so many questions on the dispatch at 2 in the morning that I get so frustrated because they haven't solved anything except ask more questions than I can even answer. One of them asked me what the perp looked like, and I'm on the second floor and they're on the first floor. And they asked me if he had a gun. Am I supposed to get dressed and go down there? I don't think so.
Thank you, Marcia. If you would.
My name is Cody Wizenan. My question is, if you are elected or re-elected, what is your plan to create an environment that supports economic and residential development to make the city of Harrisburg not just the political capital of Pennsylvania, but a city that can shine in the light of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia?
Thank you. Was anyone else waiting at over there to?
My name is Jeffrey. Me and my family moved up here from somewhere else a long time ago. I moved back out of here when the last mayor was here. I came back when Linda Thompson got in, and I've been working and doing good ever since. And everybody I meet is from somewhere else. If one of y'all was to win this election, what would you do to make sure that I stay secure in what I'm in working and being happy where I'm at?
Thank you for your question. I believe there were 2 more people who.
My name is Brandon Shepard, and the next person that I vote for mayor will address the issue of whether or not we're ever going to get money any tax money, any real estate taxes from the 50% of the land that the state owns that we don't get anything from. That's all.
Thank you.
My name is Tori Summerford. My one question that I would hope to get an answer from, because I just heard a bunch of questions and didn't hear one answer yet, is my main concern right now is the future, the next 4 years. So our future is the children, the youth. What do you plan to do to increase the productivity within the youth, within the Harrisburg area? Because it seems as though children have nothing to do, which is why the murder rate and the crime is so high. And, well, that's it.
Thank you. At this point, we're going to give the candidates a chance to answer. They're going to have 2 minutes each. So we're actually going to start with Mr. Pappenfuse on this question, on these series of
2 minutes.
questions.
Give me a moment. All right. First question on crime response tactics. I think we need to have our mayor work as a crime czar, somebody who's going to engage the community, who's going to get at the root causes of crime, is going to put a face on the victims, and is going to be able to tap resources such as mental health and other things. Second one on funds from criminal activities. I think we could have cameras. We could have the collection of outstanding warrants among our district justices. These are both revenue sources which are underutilized. Imagine a camera at the on-ramp to 83. Third question, well, what number do you call? Marcia, you call 311 in my administration for a non-emergency event. 311, that's it, that easy, and you'll get a response. Economic development, we talked about it, but we need a rebranding of the city of Harrisburg. We need a whole new marketing strategy, an outward-looking strategy, which markets the city of Harrisburg as a destination. That's something that we've done at the bookstore. We can do successfully. How to keep you happy? Well, hopefully we are able to bring the city back stronger than ever. Pilot programs desperately needed. The state is responsible for contributing we will have to be responsible to contributing to the revenue sources for the future of this city. I'm in favor of 2 different pilot programs, one for nonprofits, and I would see, including churches and others that are in the community, and I would see that going to fund this jobs program that I was talking about, and the other is a pilot program for state property contributing to the overall structural deficits of our city. We can get those done. And what do we do for the youth? We need to give the youth opportunities, and we need to give them places to be. And I have 2 separate initiatives that we've talked about briefly tonight. One, keeping the libraries open late in all of our schools throughout the city, creating a center for mentoring for our youth, and 2, a jobs program for our youth, citywide, picking up the trash and making our city better.
Thank you, Mr. Pappenfuse. Mayor Thompson.
Thank you for articulating all the things we're currently doing, Eric Pappenfuse. We really appreciate that. First of all, make our city solvent and enhance revenue. We have a comprehensive plan that is actually being developed now, but that doesn't solve everything. We have a strong relationship with all of our businesses in this community. As I said, $160 million in new revenue. 200 new housing units were built. $7 million was put into divested neighborhoods in South Allison Hill. We have a number of after-school programs in our Parks, Recs, and Enrichment Department addressing youth, making sure that we empower them to become restorers of their very own neighborhood. Job training programs. We hire our youth. We don't have to wait for a new mayor to hire youth. We're living it. We don't have to wait for a new mayor to start creating business opportunities. We're living it. As far as addressing keeping our residents in the city, if you look at the census count, we did raise our census count to 500 people. That happened on the heels of a prior administration, but also I was still a councilwoman. So we're going to continue to stay the course. The recovery plan is soon to be announced. The assets will be sold with the incinerator. The parking garages will be leveraged. Revenue enhancements have been such as that we have had properties on the books, brand new houses we invested in for 10 years. They weren't selling. We're turning them into profit makers. We're putting people in there and renting those houses. We have Operation Front Porch to give people money to help clean up their properties and fix their broken roofs and their water sprouts. And at the same time, we're hiring new police officers. 7 already have been hired, another 8 will be hired, and going into next year, we'll be hiring another 16 if you choose to reelect me as your mayor. Let's stay the course, ladies and gentlemen. We don't need to change the course or the direction of the ship in the middle of the ocean. You don't need to have to retrain anyone for this job. I'm already living it, I'm already working it, and we have strong partnerships, strong leadership right here already working to move this city to the next level. New renaissance in all neighborhoods. As far as the tax abatement program, it sits in City Council's chambers, and I believe the council is going to move on that legislation. KLZ was just introduced. We'll be having a big press conference next week with Creedic, and all the partners are involved with that to help create jobs.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Mindland. Please hold your applause. Mr. Mindland.
Yes, thank you. We have the ability to make this city shine again. 100 years ago they did it. We can do it today. We can make the city beautiful once again. It takes civic engagement. It takes taking care of the basics. We need to clean up the crime. We need to clean up the blight. We've got to build on community empowerment to be able to do that. When we begin to do that, then we will begin to attract people here. We will attract jobs here. We will increase the revenue. If you have a bad product and you increase the cost of it, you will not sell more of it. If you improve what you have, if we work together to do that, then more people will come. And when they come, they bring money and business, and that's when this thing turns around. That's what happened 100 years ago. That's what can happen now. We need a comprehensive plan to determine where we really want to go. We need to do that together, work through that together. We need zoning that's prospective, not regressive, and not looking backwards. If we work and do that, we can bring people to Harrisburg, and we will solve the problems that we have in front of us. This is an issue of simplifying government, getting government back to the vital and necessary services, making them work really well. But it's a partnership. I can't say it enough. It is a partnership. We've got to roll up our sleeves, as I have done in the neighborhoods, working with Camp Curtin Community Neighbors United. They have taken on the issue of the kids, the churches in the neighborhood. There's got to be a step up from the community to start working with our children. We can't pay for everything out of government taxes. We have got to participate. We have got to personalize social responsibility. I'm sorry if that doesn't sound like it's an answer with a government program, but it's not.
Thank you. Mr. Butts.
Yes. Again, I must go back to what Mayor Thompson is doing now. She's working on a GIS project. Now, to help her with this GIS, because when the cities are GIS, our corners are taken, our hydrants, our water infrastructure systems are covered, but once we overlap it with a Wi-Fi system, then when those elderly make those calls to our police department, we know exactly where those calls are coming from. It's a two-tier approach to make our city more functional and more transparent. We have, in our state, agriculture and tourism is the top 2 industries. If we don't cater to what the industries in our state are, then we're going to miss the bus. So if we don't do something to attract tourism, we're not going to make the revenue, the type of revenue that we need to bring ourselves out of it. We need to take projects like on Cameron and Her, those dilapidated buildings that people came to invest money and then left. We need to turn those things into adventure parks or something that brings people in and to spend money. We need a new renaissance of industry in our city to make us move forward. With our children, again, the crime issues, we need a police academy in the high school to produce our own cops. And then by the end, their 12th grade year, we already know who's going to be cops in our community, as well as they know where the hot spots are, and they are already culturally competent to deal with what our city has to offer. If you hire 9 cops from somewhere else, they don't know the culture of Harrisburg, and it will create animosity between the cops and the people the residents of the city. We must produce our own cops for there to be cultural competence within our police force.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. As president of Harrisburg Hope, it is my distinct honor to recognize each of the candidates for mayor of Harrisburg who are with us tonight. And I'd like you to hold up the Harrisburg Hope Civility Award. Recognizes the civility of the candidates, the civility of this community, and the civility of our city. Together we're going to move forward as a city. And I want to thank once more our partner in this first mayoral debate, Harrisburg Area Community College. Please, a big round for Harrisburg Area Community College. Thank you to all of our volunteers, the students, the Harrisburg Hope team that helped make tonight possible. And finally, I'll go down the line. We're going to recognize each of the candidates. And now you can give your applause. Candidate for mayor, Nevin Minland. Candidate for mayor, Louis Butts. Candidate for mayor, Eric Pappenfuse. And standing for re-election, Mayor Linda Thompson. Thank you very much. On behalf of Harrisburg Hope and Harrisburg Area Community College, I'm Alan Kennedy Schaefer. Good night.